I'm working on another sketch. This is actually an old sketch, so I'm just going to continue this up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel down here somewhere. As you've probably noticed, I've switched over from Facebook Live to YouTube Live. It's just a little easier for me to work with, and I don't know, we'll just see how this goes. Today I'm going to be working on this new RefToon. If you're watching, you can say hi in the comments. We can have a little conversation down there. I'll just be talking through what I'm working on, and we can get started now, I guess. Whoops. Maybe we can't. There we go. Alright, so this is a new RefToon. It's more of a funny RefToon. It's not meant to be like very inspirational. It's more of just a comedic one. It's kind of a take on Moses and Aaron. Moses came down from the mountain, saw that Aaron had made this golden calf for Israel to worship, and he made them ground it up and put it in the water and drink it. So they're making a new one here, which is made out of coffee beans. They think they're going to outsmart God, outsmart Moses, but in the end, Moses comes down with his second set of 10 commandments. It says, Aaron, don't make me break these again. Aaron says, do your worst, we're prepared. Because they think if they grind it up, it's all coffee, so they're going to enjoy it. Hey, Matt. Thanks for joining. First time here. Cool. So he thinks, oh, they're coffee beans. It's a giant carafe made out of coffee beans. So if he makes us ground it up and drink it, it'll be the best punishment ever. But then Moses throws in this curveball and says, decaffeinate those beans. No. So this is what I'm working on today. I'm gonna be finishing the sketches. So see, I've already started some of it, just cleaning up what I have so far. Awesome. Thanks for subscribing, Matt. So I'll get started here. Whoops, I just created a new brush. I don't want that. Delete. Alright. It is, let's see, what are we? 7 days into November. Is everybody ready for Thanksgiving? I'm ready. Ready for some good turkey. And so this part over here, I thought I had a drawing of him with the carafe somewhere. Oh, I see. It's in my it's my rough sketch before. See, that's what it looked like before. Oops. That's the very first sketch. This is the very first sketch I did for this. See how rough it is. I can't really ink based off of that, so I have to go in and I have to clean up my sketches. So I've done, let's see, where's my first pass? I'll take that off. Here's my first pass at the sketches, and I could ink off of this, but I kind of wanted to fix it up a little more, just define the characters a little bit more, give them some more consistency. And so I'm gonna make his nose look the same throughout, hopefully. And I need to fix that because I made it. Why is that being so slow? Alright. So if you're watching live, can you let me know where you heard about the live video? I'd like to know like where my efforts are being fruitful. So if you heard about, if you came here because you heard there was going to be a live drawing, where did you come here from? And Matt is asking, when did you start RefToons? I started RefToons October of 2017. I believe it was October 7th. October 16th is when it's my wife's birthday, and it's also when I created the RefToons Facebook page. And I think the very first post went up on October 17th of 2017. And it was the Martin Luther with the trick-or-treating kids behind him at the door of Wittenberg. So that is when RefToons started. I got the idea when oh, awesome, you heard about it from the Facebook post. Cool. That's cool. Hey, Troy from Revived Thoughts podcast. Cool, I have not heard of that one. I'll have to check it out. Love the Toons. Heard about this from Twitter. Did you ever expect to grow this big? Oh, you heard from Twitter. That is astonishing to me because there aren't very many people following RefToons on Twitter. I mean, compared to the Instagram and the Facebook. So it always surprises me when people find RefToons on Twitter. Did I ever expect to grow this big? No, I did not. I had a feeling that there would be, I don't know if market is the right word, an audience for these tunes, and I wanted to put something out there that would be helpful for people, especially people who are more visual learners like myself. And so I created RefToons as a way for not just other people, but for me to learn more about church history, such as the Reformation, early church fathers, Puritans, even Old Testament Bible. You know, so it's really helped me as I go through this, learning this stuff and thinking up imagery for it. It's really helped me to learn more and more about the roots of Christianity. And I don't know, I found that helpful. But no, I did not expect it to grow this big, or at least this big this fast. It's always amazing to me when I look at the numbers on Facebook. Like, I don't know, I don't understand how it's reaching so many people. So I guess I knew there would be somewhat of a audience for it. I just didn't know how it would go. And I'm thankful that it's taken off, because I mean, I've been able to network with people through RefToons and do some commissioned work. I've been able to get a published book out because of RefToons. So I'm greatly thankful to God for giving me this opportunity. And I mean, children's books is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I just didn't know how to start. But I guess you just gotta start a comic strip. You like the concept of going after coffee? Yeah, I just need Jesus and coffee. That phrase is kind of overused. You don't need coffee. It's good. I love coffee. It's delicious. But when I get to the point where I need it, I might be on the verge of making it an idol. There's a point, though, when it is... Oh, he's still looking for Easter eggs in the Martin Luther post from earlier today. I haven't listened to D&D lately. Oh, the Easter eggs. Well, that was the Jonathan Edwards, not Martin Luther. So I think... Let's see here. So I'll let you in on the Easter eggs. So there is a tattoo on his arm. It says GRUD. So the other part kind of goes over to the other side of his arm that you can't see. So it's a Wayne Grudem tattoo. And if you listen to the podcast, you know that they're not very fond of Grudem's systematic theology. So they call him No Way Wayne. I just thought it would be funny to give him a tattoo of No Way Wayne. And also the fix, like you'll notice the notes that the tattoo artist has. It says 1689 tattoo fix or something like that. So the fix is that they're changing it from 1646 to 1689. The 1646 was the Westminster Confession of Faith, where, as we all know, is a Paedo-Baptist document. So the part about sprinkling babies in there, they would not agree with. So I put that on there just kind of as a joke. Like they accidentally gave him a 1646 tattoo when he wanted a 1689. What else is there? So the tattoo artist is saying Edwards is back for another tattoo. It's not really an Easter egg. It's just, well, maybe it is. I put a tattoo on the inside of his arm. It's like an alarm clock. It's really hard to see because the ink kind of got a little blotchy right there. I inked that on actual paper. That's why it looks a little different. I inked and colored it on paper. That's why it looks a little different than some of the other Toons that are a little more crisp. So he has an alarm clock kind of representing the Great Awakening. I thought an alarm clock would be a good fit for that. So I believe, well, there's also a photo of Piper on the wall, and I don't know that they're big fans of Piper, but I put a picture of him on the wall because of that. So basically just did a bunch of things to to poke fun at him. All in good fun, because I love the podcast. And I've been to 2 of their conferences as well, which have been really fun. Oh, whoops, I didn't realize. Well, didn't realize I already had this guy sketched out how I needed him, so I'm going to erase that. Hey, Brian. So, Matt, I hope that answers your questions about the Easter eggs in the Jonathan Edwards, Joe Thorne thing. Oh, you think this is a better format for live viewing? Is this better? I know I was on Instagram live for a while, but now I had to keep... the device that I use for Instagram is a 5th generation iPod Touch, and it's only a 16 gigabyte. We use it mainly for taking photos, to have something small to take photos with, because we don't have cell phones, smartphones, or anything. So we have that, but it keeps running out of space because Instagram takes up tons of space when it is when it's being used, and so I've had to keep deleting Instagram from that device, and because it's such an old device, it's not able to update to the latest version of iOS, and so every time I delete and have to reinstall Instagram, it reinstalls an older version. I can't really choose which older version, so every time it has like different features. And this last time that I did that, it had, what did it do? Whoops, sorry, having a hard time concentrating while I'm talking here. The last time I reinstalled the Instagram app, it stopped letting me go live. It would just load and load and load, and said it was waiting to connect or something like that. So I've given up on that until we get a new device, if we get a new device. Don't really have plans for that, getting a new one in the future, so I think I'll stick to YouTube live. So welcome to everyone who has just joined us. I've heard from 3 people so far. I think there's 3 people watching right now. So Troy says, what would you do different if you had to start from scratch knowing what you know now? What do you mean start from scratch? Start from scratch on what? On RefToons, or this comic strip? This particular comic, or life? Start all the comics again. Oh, okay. That is a good question. That is a really good question. Well, Oh, that's a good idea, Brian. Stick with YouTube Live. You can share them on Facebook, IGTV, and archive them on YouTube. Troy clarified all the comics. If I would start all the comics again, no worries on the confusion. If I had to start all of these comics again, I would, because the way I started was just on a whim. I thought, oh, it would be fun to draw Martin Luther as a little cartoon character, kind of in the style of Calvin and Hobbes. And what if he was at the door of Wittenberg and there was like a bunch of kids trick-or-treating behind him, because he's knocking on the doors with his hammer. They'd be knocking to trick-or-treat. That would be a really funny image, some funny imagery. And so it was all just on a whim. I just had this idea, did the drawing, and then thought, well, I'll use RefToons. I had used that name one other time before for one comic strip that I had posted on the New City Times news website using John Knox, but it was a different style. So I took that name, RefToons, and I applied it to this, created the Facebook page, posted it, and then thought, oh, that's fun. What can I do next? So I didn't have any schedule at all of Toons or any sort of what did I say, schedule? Yeah. It was all just kind of willy-nilly. Maybe this sounds good, I'll do this, I'll do that. So the next one was the Charles Spurgeon pancake breakfast. So I think if I started over again, I would create a schedule of Toons. I would, which I can still do that now, and I kind of have with the catechism. I'm trying to get at least 3 done per week now. But yeah, I think the biggest thing would be to create a schedule, and maybe even like a business plan before even starting, because I didn't expect it to grow this fast, like I said earlier. And so everything's just, I feel like I've just been kind of running around like a chicken with its head cut off with all the different requests I'm getting, all the people wanting to translate the comics and stuff, and I don't know, it's become its own entity that needs a lot of management. So my wife and I have been doing what we can to keep it not so crazy hectic. I hope that answers your question and I wasn't just rambling. This cough is not leaving me. I was sick for a while, and now got this cough still tickling my throat. Speaking of coffee, it's time for a coffee break. Today's coffee break is brought to you by what is it brought to you by? I forgot what I made this morning. Yes, this is my coffee from this morning. Still, it takes me forever to drink it. Cameron's Roastmasters blend. It's the organic stuff. You answered it splendidly. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by, Troy. Glad that answered your question. Okay, so in order to get this part right, I need to know the structure underneath here. So I'm going to this. Actually, I need to redo that. So this arm would actually not be there. For those interested, I'm using Affinity Photo to draw this in. It's a drawing program that is supposed to be like a Photoshop alternative program. And I've been using it for about a year now. I'm using it for all of my freelance illustration work. And I have been enjoying it greatly. I especially love the fact that I have no monthly fees to pay. Oh, here we go. We'll just make him standing on a rock here. There we go. Now I have to figure out which layer is which. There we go. Alright. Those are good, good, good. Let's do this one. I like Moses' face right there. So with this one I need to make Aaron look like that Aaron. His nose needs to be fixed. What am I doing right now? This is a new RefToon. It's kind of a funny take on the Moses and Aaron situation where Moses made the Israelites ground up the golden calf into dust, mix it in with the water, and drink it. So it's kind of a humorous take on like something that didn't actually happen. So like I'm saying, what if, basically saying with this comic, what if they did it again, but they thought they were going to trick God by creating a new golden statue made out of coffee beans, golden coffee beans. And so if Moses made them ground it up, they would be drinking, they'd have like a one-up on Moses and God by drinking coffee, like delicious, great caffeinated coffee. But then Moses throws in a curveball when he comes down and tells them to decaffeinate the beans. And so that totally destroys their plan. So kind of saying like, you can't thwart God. You may think you have a good idea, but in the end it's it's not. And it's just, I just find it funny, so I wanted to draw it. those can be locked. There we go. So Aaron needs to look like that. Hey, what do you need? What is it?
It's the instructions for...
Weren't you supposed to be in bed?
Mom said I could be out.
Oh, okay. Alright. Well, that's okay. Stay downstairs.
No words without broken apart. I don't play.
Okay. What does his shirt look like? Oh, I haven't drawn it yet, so I guess I get to make it up right here around the collar. It's hidden in all those other frames, so okay. Thanksgiving is right around the corner. Hunting season is right around the corner. Looking forward to getting some venison in the freezer. We've had some supposed sightings of a cougar around where we hunt, so it should be interesting. I say supposed because the guy that said something about it is not very. He likes to tell a lot of tall tales, I guess. Alright, I think with that I can just, once I get this one, get his hair done here, because that's really the only thing on this part of him that's unclear. Once I get that done, I can start inking. Well, it's not really ink, but it's laying down the black lines. I call that inking. It's a technical term for it. So bring that opacity down a little bit and create a new layer. This will be the inks, And I'll grab my ink brush. Oh, you're from Maine. So your kids saw a wildcat of some kind. Could it have been like a bobcat or something? I know we've got some of those around where we hunt here in Wisconsin. We've had wolf sightings here as well. Actually, I think this year is the first year that they brought back the elk season here in Wisconsin. They actually imported a herd, and they were building them up, trying to build up the elk population here because we didn't have any. So they brought some and they started it up, and this year they have an elk season now, but it's like lottery. So you have to put your name in some sort of lottery in order to get chosen to be able to shoot one. I just saw on the news there's a girl that got her first elk in Wisconsin. It was huge. So I suppose once we get more of those, we'll get more and more predators around here. I mean, cougars are very rare around here. There's like a sighting of one every couple of years or so. And it usually migrates down from the north towards like Milwaukee or Chicago. There was one time they found it in Chicago. They found one in downtown Milwaukee, and they shot it in an alleyway. Cops surrounded it and shot it in an alleyway in downtown Milwaukee. But I guess when my dad was growing up on the farm up in northern Wisconsin, he said that they had large black wildcats. So basically like black panthers roaming around in the woods. I guess you never know what you're gonna run into up in the woods. What they saw had a tail. Could have been a cougar. I mean, they have like a huge range that they wander. I mean, we had one that wandered all the way from here to Chicago and to Milwaukee. So that's like from here to Milwaukee, that's like an hour. From here to Chicago, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And for driving. So imagine what that would be for walking. Just wandering. My dad caught a bobcat on his trail cam. That was really cool. It was the first time I'd seen one of those on our property, or even any sign of one of those. So that was a really cool sighting. I didn't even know they were around our area. The biggest predator I've known of in our area is coyote. And those are pests, so when we see those, we try to eliminate them. But man, when those coyotes get together, start howling at nighttime, that is a freaky thing to hear. It's the most eerie sound, I think, in all of the woods. I used to be really afraid of that I'd find Bigfoot in the woods. I had a nightmare about Bigfoot when I was a kid. That we hit him. It was after watching Harry and the Hendersons. I had a dream that I was riding in like a 15-passenger van with a bunch of people, and we hit Bigfoot. And we had to put him in the van across all of our laps. And we drove over to True Value, which is a hardware store that I used to live by. And when we got to the True Value, we laid him on the counter. And the whole place turned into a Bigfoot research center. Like all the cash registers flipped over, and they became like these giant like computers. It was a crazy dream. Do you find it harder to draw on computer versus paper? Sometimes I find it harder to draw on computer simply because of all the distractions with like social media and stuff. But other times it's harder to draw on paper because of not being able to edit undo. So I like the option like there. I just undid my action there and there. So paper is a whole lot less forgiving than that, and so you have to kind of go, it's a different mindset when you're working with paper. You have to know that this is going to be permanent and you can't really change it, whereas with computer it's less permanent. It's easier to change. So I like getting away from the screen and drawing on paper. It's refreshing and relaxing. But I like the quickness. It's a lot quicker to do on the computer because everything's right there. I don't have to scan anything in. And also coloring on the computer is a lot better because I like the crisper colors that I can get as opposed to using the sketch markers. What other cartoon/comic strip background do you have? Let's see here. I have been drawing comics of my own since I've been drawing comics of my own since I was in college, back 2002 through 2006 is when I went to college. So when I was in college, my friend and I did a comic strip for the college newspaper. And that was when I even first got into drawing comics. And so I had to teach. I was in school for art in general because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But while I was in college, I realized I wanted to do visual storytelling, illustration of some sort. I loved comics. I loved comic strips. And to be able to do that for a job was a dream of mine. Or any kind of character illustration that I could do for a job was a dream of mine. And so my art professors, they kind of poo-pooed that idea. They're like, no, you'll end up living in a trash can. You don't want to do that. And I said, well, I don't care. It's what I want to do, so I'm gonna try. I'm gonna at least try to go for that and do that. So they basically they were helpful and they were not helpful. They were not helpful in the sense that they were not extremely encouraging for me, but I think that I think that was really due to the fact that they really didn't know anything about comics or what to do for that as a job. So they basically told me that I would be in charge of kind of curating my own path, so to speak, through the different classes. So they gave me free reign at my senior art exhibit to do a full large scale comic strip with no words. So I did these, you can see in the background here, this is one of my paintings I did for my senior art show. I had 24 of them, and I did a 24 image story about redemption. And as you went through the gallery, and it was all hanging in a gallery, you would walk through in order, and you would read the story throughout all these different paintings. So that was my first big comic project, was to do large scale paintings in comic book form. Where's my thing here? And you can see that's the guy breaking out of the darkness into the light. He had demon skin on and stuff, and as he broke into the light tore all of that off of him so that he was free. So that was the story of redemption that I did in large scale. That was my first big comics project. So then after school didn't really prepare me for a job or anything, so got out of school and started working fast food. But after a while I found some art jobs, got laid off, and then I what did I say? I got laid off, in 2009, and then kind of forced into freelancing. So I started finding jobs online that I could do from home, and I was like, oh, sweet, this is cool. So I started freelance illustration, and through that and like listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos about freelancing and illustration. Through that, I was able to hone my skills, and I was able to refine my portfolio so that eventually I got to the point where instead of trying to mimic other people's styles, people were hiring me for what I was specializing in, which was character design and comic strips. So I've been doing like a lot of different comic strips for businesses to give a kind of a visual story to what their products are and how they're used. And I've also created my own comics in RefToons and Dad vs. Nature, which is a comic strip I did about my experiences in fatherhood. I also had a quick run with a Bigfoot comic, Dr. Sasquatch. He was a Sasquatch disguised as a doctor who was a terrible doctor. And he would give terrible advice. And you can find all those on Facebook. I think they're all on Facebook. And on my website, paulcoxillustration.com. So, just through building up a portfolio of work that I enjoyed, that I loved doing, is kind of how I got into doing more and more comics and just sharing them. So, I hope that answers your question. What background do I have? So my main job is I work full-time as a freelance illustrator. I create RefToons. Started creating RefToons as a hobby, but it's grown into a little more than just a hobby. So I'm trying to grow that. I'm trying to grow RefToons, and possibly get that going to be able to sustain me and my family, and possibly getting some of my other comic ideas going a little stronger as well, so that I can do that as my full-time job. That's the goal. That's like the lifelong goal, and we'll just see how that goes. Hopefully that answered your question. Brian says, my film teacher discouraged me when I told him I wanted to make comic book movies. This was in 2000. Those teachers. Okay. Moving on here to panel 3. Excuse me. Oh, you've got a Milwaukee Fairgrounds Train Fest. That's cool. Went up to the Capitol yesterday. Toured the Capitol building with the kids. That was fun. For my daughter's birthday. Also went to the Children's Museum. And then we went to Chick-fil-A. That is the closest Chick-fil-A to us, is up in Madison, and that's about an hour's drive. It was alright. Got to have a spicy chicken sandwich. It's super expensive though, so I would not go there very often. If it was around here, I would not go there very often. I'd stick to Culver's. Ended up spending $40 on lunch. That's just ridiculous. Does anyone here like Chick-fil-A? I get it's all the craze in some Christian circles, I guess, but I'm not that crazy about it. The service was amazing. Like, they'll bend over backwards for you. Just to make the customer happy. So that was pretty cool. So I guess that kind of makes the higher price worth it, because you don't get that in a lot of stores. Wendy's 4 for $4. That's funny. I haven't been to Wendy's in a long time. Probably about 3 years. It's been a while. Our go-to is Culver's. Get those butter burgers. They have the Pretzel House Pub Burger right now. That is delicious. Although Culver's can get pretty expensive too. We usually get the snack packs, which are just like a burger, fries, and a small drink. Those end up being like maybe $5 for a meal like that, which I don't think is too bad. So I guess we usually end up spending about $30 there. So I guess I shouldn't complain about Chick-fil-A. You work on a management team that owns 4 Culver's franchises. That's funny. We have 3 Culver's in our town. I've driven past Culver's corporate headquarters by accident once. My GPS took me a weird way up north and ended up there. When I was a kid, we used to go to Culver's before it was a franchise. up in Sauk City. The very first Culver's. And we just loved getting their butter burgers. It was way before that was the only Culver's restaurant there was. I need to change something here. I need to bring this down a bit. So as I'm drawing these, I see some inconsistencies that I need to remedy. Snack packs are going away? No! It's my favorite thing. Wednesdays they have $2.99 snack packs. Dude. How do you get the ins? They just opened a Culver's in Waukegan, and I know there's a Culver's in Zion. I don't even know. I've never even heard of Zion. Waukegan's probably an hour. Alright, so okay. Almost done with 3 panels. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panel comic strip. Am I crazy to go that big? We'll find out. As I'm drawing these, I'm always thinking in my head, is this going to be worth it? But I guess if I enjoy what I'm drawing, it's worth it. And it's probably a selfish thing to think, but I have a hard time not thinking of it as from a business standpoint. Like, is this going to come across well? And maybe those are some selfish thoughts that I need to mortify. But nevertheless, they creep up, and so here's the coffee bean golden carafe. Oops. Here we go. Coffee break. Sweet elixir of life. Just kidding. The more Culvers, the better, I say. You gotta love their cheese curds. Of course, we get some really good cheese curds here. Dill and garlic cheese curds. Oh, those are so delicious. Trying to think of anything like news related that I should talk about on here. I don't know. What are some topics that I should talk about in these videos? Does anybody have any suggestions? I've got you guys watching live can just throw up some suggestions in the comments. Otherwise, if someone catches this video on a replay, I believe the comments will be open for this, so just throw in the comments if you have any suggestions for different topics to talk about. Maybe I can maybe when next time I do a live stream, I can focus the entire talking section on a different topic. Maybe something going on in Christian news or regular news, world news. I don't know. Or like a how-to thing. I don't know. I'm open to ideas. I am terrible at thinking of things to talk about on the spot. So sometimes it'll be like a long series of silence. I always dread doing videos, but I know videos are good if you want your viewership to grow, I guess. And I know I love watching like behind the scenes things, so I figure if I like watching it, maybe some other people enjoy it as well. So yeah, reasonable voices are definitely a good thing in the social media age. I don't know if I'm very reasonable. I'm not very knowledgeable of news events. It's not something I keep up on, so I don't know. But if someone else has something they want to discuss, I'd be happy to. Did you hear that? It's my kids going crazy. Cartoon related stuff, yeah, I like talking cartoons. I could talk about cartoons all day long. That is like one of my favorite topics.
Heather's going crazy. And she's tired. And yeah, she's put a chair on the beanbag.
Oh, no chairs on that. Hey, you want to come in here? Okay. No chairs on the beanbag chair. Okay?
Yeah.
And McKenna, hey. You need to be quiet. People are sleeping.
Okay.
One person is sleeping. Another thing I don't want to do is just stir the pot by just bringing up topics that are going on in Christianity, because I don't have all of the info or all of every side of the story, so I usually just let things play out. Yeah, we get enough news elsewhere. Good. Do people try to compare me to Veggietales and Phil Vischer? What do you think of that? That is a good question. Matt, you're bringing all the good questions. No, no one's ever compared me to Veggietales and Phil Vischer. I don't know. I like Phil Vischer. I think he's hilarious. And Veggietales. I think Veggietales had its moment. I don't know. I liked Veggietales growing up. I don't really have a beef with Veggietales at all either. So if someone compared me to Phil Vischer and Veggietales, I'd say cool. I think Phil has a very Looney Tunes-esque quality to his work that I appreciate. Chuck Jones and his Looney Tunes have been some of my biggest influences in my cartooning. When I was a kid, I would always say I wanted to be a cartoonist and work for Looney Tunes and draw for Looney Tunes. But I mean, that's evolved over the years, of course. The dream of being a cartoonist is still there, and I feel like I've been able to achieve that, which has been kind of a dream come true. But it's a lot more work than I thought it would be when I was a kid. That's for sure. Sometimes sometimes I don't feel like doing it. But yeah, I've never been compared to Veggietales. I don't think I've been compared to anyone else, except people have said that they see a little bit of like Calvin and Hobbes influence in my work, and that I would say is very true, because that was one of my favorite comic strips. Still is. I still don't think anything can compare to Calvin and Hobbes. O'Brien says, plan what you want to speak on beforehand. Time your drawings and speak to the theology, what you have learned in art, what you know that can help others draw, and so on. Some people might say that hands are hard to draw. Is there anything you have a hard time drawing or find creative ways to avoid drawing? I used to. I used to find ways of avoiding drawing things. I used to avoid drawing feet by like this, covering them up with something. But now I like drawing feet now. Since taking classes in college, specifically figure drawing class, I've been able to improve my drawing skills as far as like anatomy and everything goes. So now I'm not as afraid of it as I used to be. So yeah, there was a time when I would hide feet, I would hide hands. What else? Buildings. Oh, buildings. I hate drawing buildings. So, buildings and vehicles and anything mechanical. So, that is something that I need to improve on. I've just always loved the organic nature of like trees and nature and people, and so I've always just focused on drawing those types of things. But there have been times in my work where I've had to draw buildings, and they turn out very lifeless. So that's something I need to work on. What? What? Who? Okay. Got a daughter who's going crazy. So yeah, now, I mean, if there's something hard to draw, I will find a way to draw it. And not avoid it, because I know if I draw it, it's going to help me improve. It's something I need to know how to draw, especially if I'm going to do this for a job. So I just kind of face the inevitable and learn how to do it. So, what time is it? I think I'm going to stop this for a while. Get back to it later. So if you guys haven't yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button to get notifications for when I go live next. I'm going to be done. Here, let me finish this one. I just have a little bit left to go. 3 more panels on this left to go, and then I'll be done. And then we can get to coloring it. So I'm gonna head out. Got some other things that I need to do. And so thanks again. Thanks guys for watching. Thanks for all the great questions and keeping me company while I draw. So we'll talk to you guys later. And for those watching the replay of this, check out Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, find RefToons on all 3 of those, and also here on YouTube. So, later.